Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in our last business success webinar of 2020. We are super excited that you're all here. I know we have a lot of content to cover. Today is a great presentation, and it's a two-part presentation. We're first going to hear from Brian Hicks, who's over at ADOT, and he will talk all about um, criteria for becoming a disadvantaged business enterprise, or DBE, how to receive certification for that. And then we'll hear from Brenda Dominguez, who's with the City of Phoenix, and she will talk all about SBE certification. Before that, I know there's people trickling in, but just make sure, as a courtesy for our speakers today, that your mics are muted. If you have any questions, please include that in the chat. We'll be answering questions um, as soon as we wrap up the presentations. We'll have some time at the end for that. So make sure you include them in the chat, and I'll be on the lookout for those. Also, make sure to include your contact information, just a nice little way of networking now that everything's virtual. Just wanted to remind you all, we will have more of these webinars starting in early January of next year. So make sure you're up to date through our social media, or following us through our email distribution as well. We'll be releasing those dates soon. But with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Brian so he could kick off the presentation for today. I know it's a lot of content, so we only have an hour, so go ahead and take it away, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So for those of you that didn't hear, my name is Brian Hicks. I'm the DBE Certification Program Manager with Arizona Department of Transportation. I'm here to talk to you about some of the standards to become certified as a disadvantaged business enterprise to hopefully work on transportation-related projects. But first, before we talk about the criteria, we need to talk about what this program is. You know, there's a lot of people that think they know or have an idea, or those that simply don't know. But what the reality is this program is a program administered by the US DOT that's designed to remedy ongoing discrimination and the continuing effects of past discrimination in federally assisted highway contracts, whether it be highway, transit, airport, safety financial assistance, whatever it may be. It was established in 1980 under the regulation of the Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and has been reauthorized many times as recently as 2015. So before we even talk about what the criteria for certification is, it's important to know that this is essentially a civil rights program. This program is to help those underrepresented in society, females and minorities, have a better opportunity to get their foot in the door on transportation-related projects, whether that be with the Federal Highway Administration, the Federal Transit Administration, or the Federal Aviation Administration. The goal is, what I've kind of alluded to, is to level the playing field by providing small businesses owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals a fair opportunity to compete for federally funded transportation projects. So the part of this, as cities, counties, and individual municipalities start to utilize federal funds for their transportation projects, the condition of those federal funds means that they must have a DBE compliance program, whether that be within their city or the next closest counterpart. But when they put out contracts that have federal money, even if it's just $1 of federal money, the contracts typically have to have a DBE goal assigned to that project. In Arizona right now, which is about to change if it hasn't already, every contract that we put out has to average, through ADOT, that has federal money, has to average 0.55% of that money on average needs to go to small businesses that have been certified as DBE. That is about to go up to 12.5%. So it's going forward for the next 3 years, 12% of all of the transportation projects that come out of ADOT or other municipalities that have federal funds attached to it will have an average of 12% of those funds going to DBEs. So that, think about the South Mountain project. That was a 10% goal. That was over a $2 billion project. 10% of 2 billion, you do the math. And that was available to the firm. But as it says in this last sentence here, this program is designed to help you compete. This program does not give you work. This program is not going to give you the opportunity. It's going to, when you become certified, you get put on a one central directory called Arizona UTREX, where your DBE is listed as certified, and the NAICS codes in which you can perform that work under. When contractors are awarded these transportation projects, they must utilize that directory to find their DBE. They're not allowed to just find a small business that is owned by a woman and minority and call it a DBE, and that's good. They have to actually utilize our directory because we have to adhere to certain standards that we're about to talk about when it comes to certifying small businesses as DBEs. So, kind of the big, it's quite a complex set of regulations, but this is where they're found. All of the standards that we are going to talk about today come from the Code of Federal Regulations in Title 49, Part 23 and 26. Part 23 is for our airport concession disadvantaged business enterprise, and 26 is all-encompassing of them both. The airport concessions has a few little caveats that are different, but it's not huge. The majority of the program, as far as certification goes, is all the same. So we won't talk too much about airport concessions. If you want to know about those, luckily, our counterparts are here with the City of Phoenix, and they might be able to shed some light if you have specific questions about airport concessions. So DBE certification in the state of Arizona is done by 3 different agencies, which make up the Arizona Unified Certification Program. Each one of these agencies are the only agencies that you will submit your DBE application to if you intend to become certified as a DBE. The 3 firms is listed below: City of Tucson, City of Phoenix, and ADOT. No other agency does certification. So if you're not going through one of these 3 agencies, you're not going to become DBE certified. And the way that we break up the workload amongst the state is City of Tucson handles all the firms located within Pima County. So if your primary business location is within that county, you will apply through City of Tucson. If you are located within Maricopa County and seeking airport concession DBE, you will apply through the City of Phoenix. All other counties in the state outside of Maricopa and Pima, and all other DBEs outside of the state who are seeking interstate DBE certification will apply through ADOT. Now, if you happen to apply to the wrong agency, or you're seeking out information about the DBE program and maybe some help with clarification of the documentation and information needed, you can reach out to all 3 of us. At ADOT, we handle a lot of inquiries about that. So if you're having issues and you're not sure where to reach out to us first, and we'll try to answer the questions. And if we can't, and it's something specific to City of Phoenix or Tucson, we will provide you the contact information for those people. So to start off, to be initially eligible as a DBE, there's only a handful of things that will disqualify you immediately. First off, you have to be an existing business or sole proprietorship, which means in Arizona, you must be registered with the Corporation Commission or the Secretary of State if you're a sole proprietor. And if you are not those things, if you are simply just an individual looking for work, you are not eligible to DBE. You must be an existing small business, period. Now, There have been some misnomers about the length of time you must be in existence as a small business to be a DBE. I've heard 6 months, a year, 2 years. The reality is that you can start your business today and apply tomorrow. There is no waiting period. You do not have to be an established business for a certain amount of time to be eligible to apply as a DBE. The other part of your business, it must be for profit. If it's a nonprofit business, you're not eligible to apply. The other part is if your personal net worth for the individual who is going to be considered the DBE, relied upon for it, must not exceed 1.32 million. So long as your business's existence is for profit and the person who is disadvantaged or persons, his personal net worth is below 1.32 million, then you can apply. Now, what you did not hear me say is that there's no exclusion for persons who are not female or minorities as listed in the following slides. So if you're a Caucasian male, if you're not on the list of those things, you can still apply to this program. Your burden of proof to prove your disadvantage is just greater than a female or a minority might be. So after you apply, when you're applying, you have the burden of demonstrating by a preponderance of evidence, and that's written into the regulations very clearly, a preponderance of evidence that you meet the requirements of the four criteria or categories below: the group membership and or individual disadvantage, business size, which refers to the small business threshold or the 3-year gross average that the USDOT has set. Ownership must be owned by a 51% or more by a disadvantaged individual, and that person or persons should have ultimate control of the business. So, talking about group membership, we are required to refutably presume that members of the groups identified below are socially and economically disadvantaged. These people must be citizens of the United States or lawfully admitted permanent residents. If you are not a citizen or you're not a lawfully admitted permanent resident, you cannot apply for this program. You will be rejected instantly. So the groups, as you see here, are women, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, subcontinent Asian Americans, and other minorities found to be disadvantaged by the SBA. Now, I've done a little bit of research. The caveat of other minorities found to be disadvantaged by the SBA, the catch-22 to that is that the SBA does not define any other minorities or groups to be disadvantaged. So what you're seeing here is the list. The reason why I say this is that your status as a veteran, as a disabled veteran, or as a disabled person is not necessarily the disadvantage that pertains to this group, and is not part of, we cannot refutably presume that you are disadvantaged. So if you are not a part of one of these groups, but you are still eligible to apply and you still wish to apply, you can. But unlike the females and minorities listed in the previous slide who just sign and notarize an affidavit attesting to their membership of those groups, these individuals have an extra burden to prove that they are socially disadvantaged through these 4 different criteria. That person must show at least one objective distinguishing feature that has contributed to their social disadvantage, such as race, ethnic origin, gender, disability, long-term resident in an environment isolated from mainstream society, or other similar things not common to individuals who are not socially disadvantaged. So for instance, the USDOT gives an example for long-term residents in an environment isolated from mainstream of American society. In the South, in the Southeast, in the Appalachian Mountains, there's a group of people in Appalachia that are of their own society, and the majority of them, if not all of them, are Caucasian. And as we just learned, Caucasian males are not eligible for this program in general. But because they are segregated, when they leave their society and their environment, everywhere that they go, they face discrimination and disadvantages that are not typical of Caucasian males or those people within the society. So USDOT has allowed them to be reputably presumed so long as they can prove that they are a part of that society. So the other one, on top of that, you have to show that your personal experiences of substantial and chronic social disadvantages not in other countries. Whatever discrimination or disadvantage you might have experienced outside of the United States does not factor in to your disadvantage here. So those things into consideration, you also have to show that your status of this individual disadvantage had a negative impact on entry into or advancement in the business world because of that disadvantage. And you have to prove that being a part of this group that you are asserting as disadvantaged, you were not able to get educated or you had your education withheld, you were not able to get employment or advance in that, or your business was held back because of that. And as we spoke to earlier, you have to provide a preponderance of evidence that shows that you as an individual who's not presumed disadvantaged is disadvantaged. So you have to provide a lot of proof. We've had to do this, screen a couple applications this way. It's unfortunately subjective, and it's truly a case-by-case basis on how we determine whether that person is actually disadvantaged. So there's a lot more that goes into it. If you are a female minority, you sign and notarize an affidavit, we check it off and we move on. But if you're not a part of those groups, we have to apply these standards when screening your application to determine whether you are socially disadvantaged. So you're going to hear socially and economically disadvantaged a lot when you're talking about this program. So the persons whose ownership and control is relied upon for DBE certification must have a personal net worth less than 1.32 million. When we are calculating that, after you've provided your calculations, there's a lot of factors that go into it. If you own multiple businesses, if you own multiple properties, the goods that you have on hand in your house, the properties you own, the cars and vehicles you own, all kinds of things go into your personal net worth, but we are required to exclude certain things. As you can see here, your individual's ownership in the interest of the firm seeking DBE certification is not included, should not be included in your calculation or ours. We are not allowed to include your primary residence, the value of that, or the equity that you have in it as well. The third one here, we are allowed to take the value of your existing pensions, retirement accounts, 401ks, and the like, but we are only allowed to factor that in once the value of assets have been counted after tax and interest penalties have been applied. So, if you had a $100,000 401k, we would take the value of that if you cashed it out and had to pay penalties in the moment. Outside of these three things, your personal net worth factors into all the things that you own and all the things that you have control of. So you are required to put in a personal net worth statement showing your calculation. And on top of that, when you submit it to us, you are going to potentially have to provide proof of the valuations of whatever property and personal belongings you have in your possession so that we can verify that the calculation is correct and to either include or omit the things that you might have included or omitted. But everybody has to do this, regardless of your social disadvantage. Everybody has to prove that they are economically disadvantaged. So as we were kind of talking about that, when you're affirming or you're claiming that you're social and economic disadvantage, you must provide a signed notarized affidavit attesting to those facts. When you do that, we reputably presume that you're a part of that group and move on. But as we kind of spoke to earlier, we can review your economic disadvantage in one of two ways. If you provide a personal net worth statement where your calculation shows you exceed 1.32 million, you are instantly denied with no further proceeding and no further action or recourse to get reinstituted. If you submit a personal net worth that's below that and we calculate it to be above that, then we can potentially deny you. Part of the personal net worth that goes into the evaluation of an application is not just, are you below 1.32 million threshold, but can you have the ability, or do you have the ability to accumulate substantial wealth? These items here that you see on the screen are about how we screen and validate your ability to accumulate substantial wealth. So for instance, if the disadvantaged owner through their business is making more than $350,000 over a 3-year period, that could be grounds for denial because you can accumulate substantial wealth. If that income was unusual and not likely to occur, if it was a one-time thing, it might not factor in, but if it's a recurring situation, then it could affect your certification. Did you take those earnings and reinvest them into the business to offset the losses? If that's the case, then that will show that you aren't necessarily accumulating substantial wealth because you're turning around and putting it back into your firm. And then at the bottom there, you'll see whether total fair market value of your assets exceeds 6 million. So if you submit a personal net worth with all these properties and your assets, and we come to find that there's 6 million or more, it could be grounds to denial. But as you can see at the very bottom, if the personal net worth is contested, the burden lies with us, the certifying agency, to prove our case. So if we come to suspect that your personal net worth is too high, or you can accumulate substantial wealth, we will be asking for more information to either to try to prove our point or to prove your point. Whatever the reason is, we're just trying to get to the bottom of it to make sure that you fit this criteria. This is what it looks like. The reason why I put this up here, which you can look at the USDOT website, this is the last page of the application where you have to sign, notarize this document. There's a lot of legalities in this. By participating in the DBE program, you agree to cooperate with requests for information, for inspection of not only your business, but all of your records and your financials and your business structure and all those type of things. And if you sign and notarize this and you don't adhere to these standards, it could be considered fraud, and it could be a reason to not only decertify you, but if it's egregious enough, take potential legal action against you. So the reason this is up here is so that you can see how serious this is, that it's not just sign and date and notarize. There's a lot of things that you're agreeing to do and participate in. This is kind of a two-way contract. So this is incumbent upon you to understand the ramifications of applying for DBE if you're not DBE. And so there are two standards. I'm going to have to go pretty quick. For business size, you either have to meet two different standards. You have to meet the current Small Business Administration business size found in 13 CFR Part 121 that are applicable to you. So if a firm's NAICS code only allow them to be considered a small business if they make 8 million average over 3 years. If they go above that 8 million, they're no longer a small business and they're no longer eligible for DBE. And then conversely, if a 3-year gross receipts average is higher than 23.98 million, which is the standard, the generic standard the DBE program sets, you're not eligible. And these standards are independent of each other. So if you're a firm that can make $8 million and you've gone above that, the 23.98 is not going to cover you. It's all independent of each other. So remember, this is for small businesses. If you go above the small business threshold, you're no longer a small business. So that's Important distinction to make. As we said, the ownership of these firms must be owned by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual, and they must own at least 51%, whether that's 51% of the stock in a corporation, 51% of each class of partnership that you might have with another firm. And if you're an LLC, you must own at least 51% of each membership. And just like I said before, you have to prove to us through substance and form that this is actually the case. Just putting it on paper or saying that it's the case is not going to suffice. So you're going to have to prove that you're actually 51% owner, or the multiple owners equate to 51%. On top of that, not just owning it, it must be real, substantial, and continuing. It can't just go by what you say on paper. Part of this process is not only screening your documents, but we do an on-site review after we screen all those documents to make sure that what's on paper is actually manifesting in your business. If those two things don't match up, that could be cause for concern and could be a reason for denial if you're not truly owning and controlling what's going on. So you'll see here, the ownership must not be in mere arrangements. However they obtained ownership must be real and at arm's length. It must be in normal practices. And in Arizona, for instance, if a firm or business is owned by a husband and wife, this is a community property state. So technically, no matter what you write on paper, unless you have a spousal renunciation statement, it's a 50-50 ownership. So in those instances, if you don't provide it in an application, it will be requested by the certification officer who might be screening your application to make sure that those ducks are in a row. On top of ownership, you can't just own it on paper. You actually got to control it on a day-to-day business or day-to-day basis. So when we're determining control, we take some of these factors into consideration. We evaluate whether you're a co-location with another firm, your affiliations with other DBEs and non-DBEs, your current and recent personnel relationships or affiliations with non-DBEs, who owns the equipment, who sets salaries, your relationship with prime contractors. The reason why we screen this, and one of these individually might not be the cause for concern, but all of these things factor into whether you as an individual small business can actually own, control, and perform the work yourself. If you're relying on other firms to provide you labor, provide you equipment, you are not independent. Now, if there's not to say that you can't be co-located with another firm and still be independent, but these are the types of things that we screen to make sure that you can stand on your own to do the work that you're doing without an intrusive amount of help from others, especially other non-DBE firms. Your relationship with non-DBE firms needs to be very clear cut when you're applying for DBE. The person that's the disadvantaged owner must hold the highest position within the company, control the board of directors. They must control the day-to-day and long-term operations. They can delegate certain aspects of the business to the employees below them, but they must have the final say and ultimate control. If they rely on those people to make the decisions for them and just defer to them, then they're really not in control. They're allowing other people to direct the course of their business. The reason why this is in here is that I want you to pay attention to the last sentence. Generally, expertise limited to office management, administration, or bookkeeping function unrelated to the principal business activities of the firm is insufficient to demonstrate control. So if you're in ownership, if you own the business 100%, but all your job, let's say you own an engineering company and you're not an engineer, but you have enough, you think you've got enough experience to be able to do it. But if your back history and your resume shows that all you've done is office management, administration, or bookkeeping, you really don't control it. You're going to rely on other people to get that business up and running and functioning and execute the work that you're trying to. So this is something that we take into consideration when we're evaluating the control of your business. On top of that, we also You have to adhere to the state law. You know, if your business needs a particular license or credential to control the business, then the disadvantaged person must hold it. If that disadvantaged person is employed outside the firm, they could speak to their ability to control. You know, let's say they have a full-time firm, but they also have full-time outside employment. How much time do they really have to devote to their firm to control the day-to-day aspect? And that was you kind of spoke to earlier, family-owned businesses, husband, wife, brother, sister. When it comes to control, this is the hardest part because it's hard to tell sometimes who actually does what, because a lot of times the husband, wife, brother, sister, or family members, they all kind of bleed into each other's responsibilities. And when we're establishing control or trying to figure out who controls it, we're only doing it on the current status of the firm, not what you did in the past, not what you're doing in the future, what's happening right now. So if you don't want to become DBE certified, which we highly recommend that you apply for, you can actually register as a small business concern with our Arizona UTRAC, and the website's here, and you'll see a picture below. What this does is that you can self-register, it's for free, but what this does is this puts you on a list, on the same list of the DBEs, you just won't be listed as a DBE, and this actually gives you an opportunity to access the resources available through our supportive services program, which is for free. They have a lot of opportunities to help you learn and grow within your business. We provide a lot of DBE conferences, expos every year. We have task force meetings, and all this can be available to you even prior to becoming DBE certified. This is the website. It's utrax.azdot.gov. We can make these slides available to you if you need them. So in summary, it's the responsibility of you to prove that you meet the requirements of DBE. It's not our responsibility. You must be a U.S. citizen or a lawfully admitted permanent resident who is Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asian Pacific, Subcontinent Asian, a woman or other minority. You must have a personal net worth below 1.32 million. The socially and economic disadvantaged owner must own at least 51% of the firm, and they must have control of all aspects of the firm. And on top of that, you still need to be under the NAICS code threshold for it to be considered a small business or underneath the 23.98 million average. This is important. Throughout the application process, you are required to cooperate with information documentation requests. Failure to do so could result in your denial or decertification because of it. And this program is designed to level the playing field. It is not intended to provide a disproportionate amount of opportunity to any one person or group. It was established to make sure there are opportunities available for the underrepresented who are willing to go after it. And the last bullet point, which is the most important, becoming certified is not a guarantee that you will be awarded or given work. Like all other businesses, it is your responsibility to seek out, obtain, and perform any and all work themselves. Your drive and work ethic and ambition is the key to your firm's success. And this program is here to support you on that journey, whether it be during your certification process or after you become certified through our supportive services program. And if you do have any questions about any of this, or have questions in general, these are our contact information that you can reach out to any one of us, and we will be glad to help you the best that we can. So that's all I have for now. I know I've gone a little bit over, but as Elizabeth said, there's a lot to cover in a short amount of time. So I want to thank you for your attention and the opportunity to present to you.
Thank you, Brian. We'll go ahead and share your contact information as well in our post-event email. So thank you so much. So now we'd like to introduce Brenda to start sharing her screen and her presentation. Thank you, Brenda.
And thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your introduction. I do have a question about sharing my screen. The presentation, I would have to put it up myself.
Yes, if not, I have it. Just let me know.
Yes, please. Can you put it up?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you so much. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties with my tablet for some reason, but we can get it up here.
Yes, one moment.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Okay, does everyone
Thank
see
you.
that?
I can see it. Thank you, Elizabeth. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Just checking my audio. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We are glad to be here this morning to share with you about the SBE program. I want to thank Brian for doing such an excellent job in explaining the requirements of the DBE program, because that makes our job a lot easier this morning. Actually, he did a very thorough explanation of the requirements. And a lot of the requirements of the DBE program you will find as I go through my presentation, they mirror those requirements of the DBE program, because that's how our program was designed. So if you hear a lot of the same things that Brian mentioned, it's just going to be information that's going to be re-emphasized that our SBE program also goes by. So let's see here. Again, my name is Brenda Dominguez. I am an Equal Opportunity Specialist with the City of Phoenix Equal Opportunity Department. At this time, I would also like to introduce my supervisor and the certification program manager, who's also in the here with us today. And her name is Ms. Reina Valenzuela, and she is a certification program manager for the certification program with the City of Phoenix. So you might be hearing her also in this presentation as I go through the presentation. So today, in this morning, we're going to cover the following things. We're going to cover what is certification, the 3 types of certification offered by the City of Phoenix, what is the small business certification, or as we call it, SBE certification requirements. We're going to be talking about the benefits of SBE certification, examples of SBE businesses we certify, how to apply for certification with the City of Phoenix, the certification review process, and we're going to provide our contact information. And so what is certification? I think that Brian covered a lot of that in his presentation, but certification again was, the purpose of certification is to ensure that only firms that fully meet this part's eligibility standards are permitted to participate as DBEs, SBEs, or ACDBEs in the case of concessions. Now, this presentation is going to be covering SBEs, so we're going to be emphasizing SBEs. The criteria for certification is set forth in Chapter 18 of the Phoenix City Code Ordinance for SBE certification. But as Brian mentioned, we also certify businesses as ACDBEs and DBEs with the City of Phoenix. And so we go by the same code, which is 49 CFRs Part 23 and 26 of the DBE regulation. It is very important to note that certification applies to the owner of the business. So certification, when a person becomes certified, we look at the owner's ability to become certified. Certification is not transferable. So that means that if you own a business and you decide to sell it tomorrow and your business is SBE certified, the certification does not follow that business. Actually, the new owner would have to apply for certification and meet all the requirements. And we've had a few cases of that where businesses have been sold and then other owners, the new owners, have applied for certification, and sometimes they get granted certification and sometimes they get denied, depending on whether they meet the requirements or not. And so certification is also a marketing tool, and it's used to enhance your ability to do business in the public sector and with other municipalities. And so a lot of times people think, you know, what is, and we're going to talk about the benefits of certification later on, but it's good to emphasize that it is a good marketing tool. A lot of times when businesses become certified, we encourage them to put in their marketing materials, in their business cards, on their websites, to put that they are SBE certified. So that's a great help for them. Next slide, please. And so we do offer at the City of Phoenix 3 types of certification. We will not be covering all of these today, but as I said, we will be emphasizing on the SBE program. But it's good for you to know that these are the types of certification that we do offer at the City of Phoenix. We offer the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, DBE certification. And I know that Brian already did a great job in explaining what that DBE program is. And we look for those same requirements that he talked about. Those are the same requirements that we look for. We also certify businesses as airport concessions, disadvantaged business enterprise, or ACDBEs. And that is basically a DBE, disadvantaged business that is working at the airport, that is providing services or products to the airport and the traveling public. And then the program that we're going to be talking about today is the Small Business Enterprise Program. And we do offer SBE certification. And that is what we're going to be focusing on today. And we're going to be covering the requirements and the different aspects of the certification. So what is SBE certification? The main thing or the main differentiator between our SBE program and the DBE program is that the SBE program is a local program. It is a program created by the City of Phoenix to provide opportunities to do business with the City of Phoenix. And it is applicable to procurement and contracting that occur using city money or city funds. And it's only available, this is very important and it is key, it is only available to firms with a primary or principal location in Maricopa County. And so we have a lot of firms that are in Coconino County, let's say, Pima County, different counties in Arizona that want to apply for SBE certification, but unfortunately, they are not eligible to apply because, again, the SBE program is a local program. And that is one of the great differentiators between this and the DBE program, which is a nationwide program. Anybody can apply and their certification is valid, of course, nationwide if they have different certifications through different states. And so what are the requirements for SBE certification? Well, a lot of the requirements, as I mentioned, were already mentioned for DBE certification earlier today, but we're still going to go through these requirements because I want you to see and hear the difference between the DBE and the SBE program. The main difference, again, is that this program, the SBE program, does not have a qualifying group requirement. So that means that anybody can apply. It is a gender and race neutral program. Anyone can apply. So the different groups that were mentioned for the DBE program don't necessarily apply for the SBE program. Anyone can apply. It is a gender and race neutral program. The same personal net worth requirements for the DBE program apply to the SBE program, and that is that the owners cannot exceed $1.32 million, excluding ownership interest in the applicant's business and the primary residence. Again, the business must be a local firm. The firm must have a primary or principal location in Maricopa County. The business has to be operational and for profit. So we're going to ask for copies of 3 completed or in progress jobs, contracts, proposals, or bids when you submit your application for SBE certification. The owners must have the experience, expertise, and control of the day-to-day operations of the firm. That is a big requirement. That's something that we will check to see if the owners have that. And again, the SBE guidelines for requirement apply for this program. Businesses must qualify as a small business under the Small Business Administration guidelines. And so they cannot exceed, and then that is the same amount, $23.9 million, which is the threshold for DBE. And that is because our program was really designed to mirror the requirements of the DBE programs in that aspect. The owners must be U.S. citizens or permanent legal residents. And we will ask for proof of that. And we will be discussing that a little bit further on as we look at the documents that you must provide with your application. So these are some of the main requirements for SBE certification that we will be looking at when you apply for certification with the City of Phoenix. And as you can see in this slide, a lot of the requirements for the DBE program are the same for the SBE program. And that is because we base, again, our program on 49 CFR Part 26 and also Chapter 18 of the City Code, which was written based on the 49 CFR Part 26. Everything except for the qualifying groups. Again, anyone can apply. It is gender and race neutral. Anyone can apply, but they have to meet the requirements as listed here. So what are the benefits of certification? Well, there are many benefits of certification, especially SBE certification. Once a person or business becomes certified, of course, they have a lot of visibility and exposure to prime contractors, other small businesses, the private sectors, other municipalities and government agencies can look for businesses that are SBE certified to do work with them. And I know that a lot of times different SBEs that get certified, they go to the city of Glendale, the city of Mesa, the city of Tempe, because they're looking for certified firms. And we are that agency that certifies businesses as small business enterprises. So we have that visibility exposure that we can provide for SBE firms. We have increased access to opportunities. So SBE firms, again, can have those increased access to opportunities to work in the private sector and with other government agencies that offer opportunities to certified firms. The other benefit, of course, and something that we can all want, is potential for business growth. So because you are certified, you have different opportunities to attend different bidding opportunities or RFP opportunities for that are opened up to SBE certified firms. And we have several of those events throughout the year, which we call like meet and greets. And then you can attend those if you're SBE certified when you get invited. SBEs become accessible to prime contractors that need to fulfill their SBE participation requirements. There are some projects that require SBE participation, that encourage SBE participation. And so SBEs become accessible to prime contractors. SBEs are also listed in the City of Phoenix SBE directory, which again, we're talking about exposure and marketing for your business. And that is something that a lot of people attend or they look at our SBE directory when they're looking for businesses that they can work with, because they know that at the City of Phoenix, we do, just like ADOT does, we do a thorough job of screening the applicants, making sure that they're doing the work that they say that they're doing, and that they are able, ready, willing, and able to do the work that they say. So again, as I mentioned, another one is increased opportunities to network at events, such as procurement fairs or pre-bid. So having said that, it is important to know that certification does not guarantee that you will be successful each and every time you bid. A lot of businesses say, well, Brenda, I'm SBE certified. How am I gonna get work? I'm not getting anything. And as it was mentioned earlier, a lot of the work still will rest on the business owner to market the firm, to network, to be out there at those bidding fairs and procurement fairs and pre-bids, so that other people can know that they're SBE certified. And so, but having said that, it also adds a competitive edge to your bid being SBE certified. So those are the benefits of certification. And I'm gonna see if I can fix my video. Okay. And some examples of certified firms. You would be surprised at the different firms that we certify. We have a different array of firms that we certify as SBEs with the City of Phoenix. In our directory, you will find firms that are certified as goods and services providers, retail goods, paper products, janitorial, HR payroll firms, construction trades, everything from landscaping, drywall, concrete, asphalt, different types of construction trades. We also certify professional services. So architects, engineers, different services that require licenses, professional licenses. Other areas such as IT providers or people that sell products. You know, last time we actually certified somebody that made pies from their home. They made sweet potato pies, and they wanted to be certified because they had a pending opportunity with Kroger, which I think in our state would be considered fries. And they were asking them, are you certified? We need a certified business firm to be able to provide entry into our stores. For you to provide pies. And the applicant, of course, met all the requirements, and they became SBE as well as DBE certified. And now they're having opportunities with Kroger, with the Fry's food stores here in the Valley, with their sweet potato pie. So you might have bought one actually this past Thanksgiving, and you might have not known it. But those are examples of certified firms, people that we certify. So how to apply? How do you apply for certification, SBE certification? The good thing about this program and the DBE and ACDB as well is that everything is done online. We have an online certification application, and having that, of course, reduces paper. There is increased security. There is no paper that has to be transferred between applicant and our agency. You can work on your application and save your progress at any time. Now you do have 90 days, I believe, to complete your application. So you will have to, when you apply for certification online, you're going to have to get a username and password set up. And then once you have that, you will the screens will prompt you to fill out your application at your convenience. So that is something that we're very happy to be able to provide. And the website of where you can apply is listed right there on the screen. As you can see, it is phoenix.diversitycompliance.com. And that is our website, phoenix.diversitycompliance.com. That is the website that you're going to be going to apply for certification. And actually, we just finished a project where we revamped our certification page, our screen, and we're very happy. Actually, Reina did a lot of that work where we were able to change the picture on our certification application website. So we're happy with that improvement onto our site. But that is where you would go to apply. Next slide, please. And so the application itself includes the basic application for certification, which is it's not a very lengthy application, but it's a very thorough application. We're going to ask you questions about your business, about your capital contributions, about your banking, about which owner does what duties. We're going to ask you a lot of questions about if you have your business location, if you work for other firms. So that's all going to be included in your application for certification. We're going to ask you, for example, if you have been denied in other cities or states if you've been denied for certification before, if you've applied for certification elsewhere. We're going to ask you to sign an affidavit of certification, which again, this is a legal document that says that everything that you're saying in the application is true and correct, and that you are providing true information. So we're going to ask you to sign that affidavit of certification right now. And it's important to note that if you apply for SBE certification, because of the current situation right now, health-wise in the state of Arizona, we are waiving the requirement to have the affidavit of certification notarized right now because of that situation. But once that changes, of course, we will be requiring the affidavits to be notarized. So at this time, it's just you would only just have to sign it. The application again includes also a supporting documents checklist. And so that checklist is a very thorough checklist, and you might find it very lengthy. And a lot of times people that apply say, Brenda, this documents checklist is just really long. Why do you ask for so much information? And the reason that we do that is because we want to make sure that only businesses that meet the requirements are able to be certified as SBEs. And one of the ways that we do that is by certifying and confirming that the information that you provided on that basic application for certification is actually what is happening in your business. It's actually how your business was structured. It's actually what your gross receipts are the correct gross receipts, that you are, of course, a citizen or a permanent legal resident, that you're able to apply for this program. And so we're going to talk about some of those documents right now. Next slide, please. Some of the required documents that we are going to ask for are resumes of each owner. We're going to be asking the personal statement of net worth of each owner, the personal net worth statement. And that is, of course, to make sure that you fall within the personal net worth requirements. The resumes, of course, are to make sure that you have the knowledge, experience, and expertise in the field that you want to be certified, in the trade area that you want to be certified. We're going to ask you for your personal tax returns, your federal tax returns for the last 3 years, to see if you meet the income requirements. We're going to ask you for the federal tax returns of the company for the last 3 years. Again, we're looking at the gross receipts here in these taxes. We're going to ask you for documented evidence of the funds that you used to acquire ownership. How did you start your firm? What were the funds and where did they come from? We're going to ask you for this evidence. And a lot of times, this is important to note, a lot of times we get firms that say, Brenda, I don't remember how much money I started with, or I don't have the evidence of what I used to start my company. And so during those situations, we ask the companies, write a statement on your letterhead explaining what money you think you used, and that you don't have the bank receipts anymore because you started the company 15 years ago. And so we want that explanation because everything has to be documented. We're going to ask you for loan agreements that you've signed for your business, any loan agreements that you've signed. We're going to ask for a list of employees that you have in your firm. We're going to ask you for licenses and permits if it's required for your trade area. For example, if you're an architect and you're applying to be certified, your firm to be certified, you must have a license. The state of Arizona requires an architect to have a professional license. If you're applying, for example, as a firm that is a concrete firm or an asphalt firm, there are special licenses required by the Register of Contractors in the state of Arizona that you must possess for your business. Now, there may be some licenses or permits, and we understand that. And so if that's the case, then you can just again state that. We're going to ask you for your office and storage space leases. We're going to ask you for transfer of assets that occurred from the company and to the owners during the last 2 years. We're going to ask for proof of citizenship and a residency for each owner, the bank authorization and signature cards to see who's able to sign up on your business account. We're going to look for a list of salaries that you pay to all officers, owners, and managers of the firm. The vendor registry, we highly encourage that as you're applying for certification, that you register your small business with the Procure Phoenix Business Vendor System. And that is a great way for you also to market your business and tell the City of Phoenix Finance Department, hey, I am here and I provide these services, I provide these products, and I want to make sure that you have me in your system. So in case you need me to provide those services or products, that you can find me. So that all can happen even without certification. Even without certification, you are able to work with the City of Phoenix. But with certification, with the convenience and the advantage of having certification, you are opened up to more opportunities. But we do encourage small businesses to register as they wait to hear back from us the determination for their small business certification application. Next slide, please. So the certification review process, I know we are running short on time. I will go through this quickly, but what happens once you become certified is that you submit your online application, and we only receive completed applications. So it's very important that if you have any questions pertaining to anything that I've covered about the requirements, about the application itself, that you contact us so that you can complete your application, submit it, and then we will do a cursory review to make sure that you've submitted everything. Once we do that, the second step is that it gets assigned to a specialist. And that specialist verifies all the documents and does an internal review audit of your application and the documents. Now, the specialist has up to 90 days to complete this review of your application. The third step, of course, would be an on-site interview or a job site visit. For SBE certification applications, we don't usually do on-site interviews. However, we have the option to do them if it is if we need more information that would merit us to go to your job site, to go to your office, for us to really see what is happening in your business. We do offer those on-sites, and they're required for DBE applications. The fourth step is final recommendation. After we do our review, we do perhaps do an on-site, we do an audit of the documents. The specialist looks at the application as a whole. So as a whole, we look to see that you've met the requirements, that you met the evidence as a whole, and then we make a recommendation either to step 5 to grant certification as an SBE or deny certification as an SBE. And in the case that you are granted certification, step 6, certificates are issued where we give you a certificate through the system where you apply. We'll give you a certificate and a letter of acceptance and tell you congratulations, your business was certified as an SBE with the City of Phoenix. And then we give you an actual certificate that you can use when you're doing RFPs, when you're doing, that you can provide to a prime contractor, for example, that's asking evidence of your certification. We also give you appeal rights. We also give you appeal rights if you are denied. So if you're denied certification, and sometimes that happens, we give you appeal rights. So you will have a right to a hearing. You will have a right to say why we made a wrong decision to deny. So that's the certification review process. Next slide, please. So once certified, certified SBE firms appeared in the city's online directory. Again, that is a great marketing tool for your business. That we put your name, the trade area that you're certified in, your contact information. For example, if you're a photographer, if you sell janitorial products, your name and your company will appear in our directory once you become certified. Again, a certificate is issued to the owner of the certified firm as proof of SBE certification. And owners can market their firms as SBE certified firms. And this is something that we highly encourage, is for firms to once they become certified, put it on your business cards, put it on your website, put it on anything that you use to market your firm. Because during those 5 seconds, 10 seconds that you have to interact with different people, with different businesses, with different municipalities, you can market your firm. It's already on there. It's already on your printed material on your website. So that's what happens once you become certified. Next slide, please. So thank you so much. This concludes our presentation. It is a brief presentation to kind of give you an idea of the SBE program, and we'll be more than happy to take questions at this time if you have any questions.
Thank you, Brenda. This was really helpful for everyone. I know we're a little over time, but if you have any questions and you're still around, make sure to enter those in the chat. I haven't seen any questions for Brian or for yourself other than just positive feedback. Thank you, Brenda. Great presentation. So we'll give it about a minute. If no one else has any questions, we'll go ahead and share today's materials in our post-event email. So make sure you be on the lookout for that, and make sure to complete our survey and let us know how today's presentation went, and for a chance to win some great prizes as well.
Ms. Elizabeth, if you can please put the next slide on this one, and thank you so much. There is our contact information. If you want to contact us, if you want to reach out to us, our number is 602-262-6790, and that is the certification direct line. Our website is there, and then again, the website to apply for certification is also there. So we'll be more than happy to answer any questions, and we will also be looking forward to receiving your applications for SBE certification. And please feel free to contact us, and we'll be more than happy to help you.
Great. So we'll share contact information for Brenda and for Brian in our email, but it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So appreciate your time, Brenda and Brian, this morning. On behalf of the chamber, hope you all have great holidays, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.